In today's modern age, there's plenty of ways that you can pass the time. Read a book, watch a movie, watch an anime. But for me personally, I've always enjoyed playing video games the most. Whether it's getting the opportunity to explore a beautiful narrative or even check out a bombastic landscape I could never even imagine on my own, I'm enthralled when I enter these types of adventures, but I realize for being an anime and game channel that talks about things about anime and game, we've never actually told you guys what our favorites are. So today on Dynamic Entry, we're going to pull a little bit of the lens back for you and give you our thoughts, our opinions, and of course, our respective top fives in a top 10 list of our favorite games.
Dynamic Entry!
Man, it's a tough one because video games have been with me since I was a little kid. As far back as I've remembered, I've had access to a console of some kind. My very first being the Super Nintendo. I have very vivid memories of playing the console along with my mom and my sister, so there's always been a control in my hand. I look back at the great scope of games, and I definitely say that the five that I've pulled here mean the most to me specifically. Either they woke up an emotion inside of me, they held my hand and took me through an experience. It's more than just your traditional run around and shoot. It's deeper than, just finding treasures here and there.
So when it comes to gaming, I'm not like the typical gamer. I'm not going to go in and grind levels. I'm not going to enjoy like a very expansive world where I can just do all this stuff. There are some times where I do enjoy that, but for me, I'm more of the casual gamer amongst Chris and I. So when you see my top 5 list right now, you won't be surprised, at least hopefully not, when you hear some of the names.
So the first game I'd like to talk about on this list is one of many in its series. However, the second game is the one that resonated with me the most, and that would be Mass Effect 2. I actually would pick the entire franchise if I had my way, but I wanted to be decisive, and when I say that, I mean Nate told me to be decisive. So I'm going to pick Mass Effect 2 because it's no contest when it comes to it. Mass Effect is such an amazing experience if you grew up watching sci-fi stuff like Star Trek or Star Wars. For me personally, I kind of lean closer to like the Star Trek side of things. I grew up on Picard, so having my own opportunity to travel out into the greater galaxy, get a chance to experience different alien cultures, customs, meet characters, it was a delight. And Mass Effect does that probably better than anybody else when it comes to that type of setting. It's just so deep, and there's always more to explore. There's always codex entries or just little nuanced dialogues throughout the respective planets that you can hear. That just, man, I love them. There's a lot more that I could say about Mass Effect 2. I definitely haven't done it justice, in my opinion, but if I could cap off anything, it's this. The Mass Effect series is an incredible experience, but I feel as though that Mass Effect 2, for the spirit of the game as well as the different mechanics that are available to you, shouts out to Sentinels, my man, it's just a masterpiece. And if I had to do it all again, I would, and I have, because it's my comfort game. I go back and play it all the time, and even recently I've re-downloaded the Legendary Edition just so I can go through and have one more round across the galaxy.
Okay, so getting into it, number 5 for me, my personal favorite, I recently just replayed this, it's going to be L.A. Noire. I know, crazy, right? Wasn't super heralded when it first came out. People were kind of like, it's missing the mark for me, coming off the back of games like GTA, stuff like that, where Rockstar produced in the past. This kind of took a left. It kind of stayed in the same world of like open world, like LA type vibe, but it went towards the route of being a detective. And for me, I've always just thought it was cool. I know a lot of people growing up, when you watch old detective movies, you feel like, oh man, that'd be so cool to be a detective, be solving crimes. It's 3 a.m. at night, you're walking the streets, putting clues together, smoking a cigarette because it looks so cool, not because it is good for you, just because it looks cool. That whole vibe, LA Noire fits that. I know that some of it got a little bit repetitive after a while, but as far as what we got and the storyline of it all, I'm always going to enjoy it. I'm always going to want to go back and revisit it every few years to get myself into that world of being like a 1930s detective, trying to wake my way up through the ranks of being a cop.
Keeping up with the theme of sequels and probably getting someone talking shit at me after I chose such a great sequel there, I'd like to go with my other comfort game. And I mean this when I say this, but Dark Souls 2 is actually my favorite of the Dark Souls games. See, when Dark Souls 2 was first coming out, it was a big cultural movement. Dark Souls had stolen people's hearts and was becoming a really easy cult classic. And then we heard a sequel was coming out. There was something about the internet back then. There was a buzz that all of us were talking about. And then it came out, and it was so different and so odd and power stancing, among other things. And it just, I don't know, it spoke to me, man. It's expansive, it is janky, the hitboxes don't make a lot of sense, but it's also a stepping stone, a place in the road for the greater narrative of the Souls series. And the more time I've spent in the game, the more I've fallen in love with it over and over and over and over again. Of all the Souls games, it's just a beautiful experience to me. And whether it be the Shrine of Amana, whether it be Majula, Aleum Lois, I just love the settings themselves. Seeing the way that the world is in its current state. Decayed, but beautiful. Glorious and brilliant. I just feel like you don't get that in the other Souls games.
And moving along, my number 4 on here is going to be Uncharted 2. Now, I didn't want to take a cop out and pick like the whole series. I told Chris to, be brave in his last video of him having to pick a distinct Mass Effect. He picked 2. I'm the same way. I'm like, I gotta figure out amongst all 4 of the titles of Uncharted, which one was my favorite. It's going to be 2. Now, this is a weird series for me because I didn't play it when it was coming out. I went back years later and I played the Nathan Drake collection right, I think after 4 came out, like a year or 2 after 4 came out, and I was like, you know what, let me go back and finally play it. Everybody always talks about it. It's like one of the staples within PlayStation, so let me go see what it's all about, and I ended up having the time of my life. For me, 2 was my favorite just because I think that it stepped up dramatically from the first one. They improved every in-game mechanic. They made it feel more real, and they actually utilized all the PS3's power at the time, and it introduced my favorite character from the series, which is going to be Chloe, because she's a hottie, and I enjoy hotties, all right? So I enjoyed playing Nathan Drake's storyline, and just the idea of it, like an adventure and being an action movie, is just great. That's for me, my favorite types of games are ones that have a good storyline that I want to watch pretty much like I'm playing a movie, because that's just my vibe. The idea of playing an adventure is always fun. Just the older I get, the more I'm like, I do the same thing pretty much every day. I wish I could have some sort of adventure, and this kind of scratches that itch for me. Is like, oh, okay, let's go on an adventure. Uncharted is the best type of game to scratch that itch. If you do in your life feel like, I want something, I want to do a sort of adventure, this is the perfect game for you if you've never played it.
Well, you've heard the 2s, but let's talk about a few 3s, meaning they are the third in the series of these particular games. The first of which I'd like to talk about would be Soul Calibur 3. Yes, Namco's forgotten baby, transcending history and the world, a tale of swords and souls, eternally retold. Man, those words are burned into my brain because Soul Calibur is just iconic to me, man. There weren't a lot of 8-way fighters of the time, past Tekken and stuff through Namco, but Soul Calibur was different because of the weapon system, which is something that I've mentioned here on the channel before. The way that characters moved and the way that their respective hitboxes interacted because of how their weapons were was very different from other fighters of the time. And when it comes to Soul Calibur 3, it was another game where they decided to take risks and make a lot of changes. It was packed with features and character, which isn't really something that you see as often these days in gaming. I think it's a holdover of another time. Back when we were doing things more for the artistry and the experience than I think we were for the buck, if you ask me. I would say of all the Soul Calibur games, it isn't the most iconic at the end of the day. That probably goes to Soul Calibur 2 and its special guest characters of Link, Spawn, and Heihachi, but really, I think that there was a really complete package when it comes to Soul Calibur 3. Whether you wanted to do the solo stuff, play couch co-op with somebody, or even just make your own legend to add to the expansive roster, you could do that. And we wouldn't be where we are now with a lot of fighting games, I think, if there wasn't that expression and freedom available to us in Soul Calibur 3.
And coming in at my number 3 spot is going to be, again, a game from the franchise where you can pick any game you want. I've decided to go with Pokemon Soul Silver. Now, for me, growing up, I didn't play Red and Blue and Gold and Silver. I didn't start playing until Ruby and Sapphire. So having the chance to go back and play Silver, but in this way, was cool for me. And at the time when it came out, I was a little bit older. I think I was in high school. and it was kind of like not cool anymore to play Pokemon. But for some reason, seeing this and the packaging they had of getting your little Pokewalker, I was like, you know what? I think I'm gonna go back and play that. And I ended up going back and playing it because you know what? I was like, you know, forget the judgment. I'm gonna play a game that makes me happy. Having the double gyms, that was like the biggest thing for me. That's my biggest complaint usually with Pokemon is that it's so short. You get through like your gym battles and you go through Elite Four and you're like, oh well, I guess that's it. I mean, if you want, you can grind and like build your team up and make them as strong as possible. But for me, I don't always want to grind like that. But having a way to expand the story and make it make sense was cool. You know, beat the first original 8 and then the Elite Four, you go to the next city and hey, look, there's more gyms and they're stronger than the last gym. So it helps you grind with a purpose instead of just having to like aimlessly wander around and keep farming like little fucking Pokemon you see along the way. So for me, Soul Silver raised the bar of what a Pokemon game should be and could be. So that's why I think it's hard for me to compare the newer games because, like, oh man, look what we had. We had Soul Silver. That was peak. And now where are we at now? It's a little crazy.
This next game I've put off talking about for a very long time, mostly because it is very important to me and I've been a part of its process in my own way since they gave us the opportunity. And that would be Baldur's Gate 3. Yes, Larian's beautiful Pearl. It's a delight, man. I mean, I'm a big high fantasy guy, as much as I've talked about like sci-fi and stuff up until now, but it's just, man. Unlike most traditional D&D-esque type games, this one uses a modified rule set that's pretty close to the 5e model, at least the pre-2024 one. And it truly rewards your creativity and freedom. Few games really let you get into the world like Baldur's Gate 3. Not just as a hapless bystander, not just as someone watching the screen go by, but someone who's actively interacting with the world. I can't tell you how many times we've, whistled to pull people's attention so that we can sneak around and steal something, or maybe schemed so that we could make Lorroican pay for being such a bitch. Just all kinds of stuff. Far and away, one of the best RPGs I've ever played. Voice acting, top notch. Performances, out the window, man. Like fucking, ugh. It's a total experience. And I haven't made a video about it because there are people that have made deeper, more introspective, beautiful videos on it. But for me, I've never slowed down to do that because anytime I touch it, I just get ramped up all over again. I end up in the Nautiloid, and before I know it, I'm fighting Ketheric in Act 2. Baldur's Gate is a shining light in the dark. Is it a replacement for traditional tabletop games? No, not by any means. But when you want to experience those types of worlds, it doesn't get better.
All right, coming in at number 2 is going to be another sequel, Kingdom Hearts 2. Now I know, basic answer. It's a lot of people's favorite game. A lot of casual people's favorite game. If you ask them, when they do interviews with sports people, and like, hey, what's your favorite game? And they say Kingdom Hearts. Everybody in the comments is like, oh damn, what a pool, Kingdom Hearts. That's crazy. It's like the most popular, if you know games. Like that's the realm it falls under. But for me, same thing. It was my first time really going into the world of like Final Fantasy in a way, because I never played the Final Fantasy games growing up. They were always around. I'd always see them. I was familiar with the people, Cloud and all of them. I knew it. But for me, I didn't like turn-based combat games, so I never really got into it. I was like, oh, that's cool, but for me, it's kind of confusing as a kid, so I'm not going to try to get into it. So I didn't. But Kingdom Hearts allowed me to see these cool characters and see them in a new way, and having the combat system be interesting for me, just being like a hack and slash kind of game, I really enjoyed that. So this is my first time in that world of like a JRPG type game. But it mixed both worlds because you got to see Final Fantasy and you got to see Disney characters. So for me, a kid growing up, Disney characters, yeah, that's me. I love that. So meshing them together was like, it's an amazing collaboration, and it's like the coolest thing ever. And 2 for me was my favorite because I played it so much with my friend growing up. We went on a road trip and we had a little portable TV with us, and we ended up playing that on the way. It was like a 10-hour drive, and we played that, and that was the first time I was like, oh man, this is what this game is about. That's kind of cool. And he's like, yeah man, it's like the best. And that's when I decided to buy it on my own and explored it, and I grinded that game and I had fun playing it. And yeah, Kingdom Hearts 3 missed the mark. Kingdom Hearts 1 was good, but again, with like Uncharted, 2 raised the bar. And yeah, it's just become forever iconic to me. And anybody who plays Kingdom Hearts, you could throw a stone in a crowd and you'll find a Kingdom Hearts fan. It's that big now. And yeah, that was a great game.
Okay, so I haven't really gone super deep into any of the games, just giving kind of like surface level why I love them. And I'm happy to answer comments about any of them, by the way, so please feel free to do so down below. But if I had to mention a favorite game of all the games I've played, of every game I've played. While this may sound a bit crazy to you, currently, my favorite game has been, since I said it a while back, up until now, Armored Core 6. And I know, it's a short game. I get it. They only provided one title update that offered a few extra pieces for the Landgeister. I get it. But, I really do love that game. My first entry to the From Software house was Armored Core 4 Answer. And since playing that game on the Xbox, I have been fighting tooth and nail for even a fraction of that experience. It's something that I look for in every single game I play. If there's piloting, if there's mechs, it becomes a one-to-one comparison. And it's never fair, because Next Combat was different. It was fast, it was sharp, it was difficult, but my God, was it beautiful. I've chased that ghost for a long time, and it wasn't until Armored Core 6 that I was finally able to put those feelings to bed, enjoy a new experience, and stop unfairly comparing games to something they couldn't keep up with. When it comes to the actual combat, I'm still infatuated with it, and I think probably every 2 months or so I re-download it on my PlayStation, and I do the whole damn thing again for the love of the game. When it comes to like anime and stuff, I've always loved mecha. I never grew up on Macrocross, but I've Gundam through and through from G up. And I don't know, I just felt like we never had an opportunity to play like a really good, solid Gundam game. And when there's shit like, battle operations that are just shallow cash grabs, it sucks. So for me, Armored Core 6 answers like a vicarious little like want there, because I can't get what I'm looking for Gundam anywhere else. It's the best of the best when it comes to that, and I mean, I will die on that hill.
And coming in at number 1, honestly, I could have picked just all Naughty Dog games and it would have been my entire list, but I didn't. I had to be brave and pick single games from each franchise. So yes, following along the Naughty Dog route, it's going to be The Last of Us. It's just like the perfect game. You get to see the story unfold, one of the greatest stories ever. That's why you see the live action had so much success, because the story was so strong. But also the gameplay itself, you lose it. It feels cool going between having to fight humans who are smart and you got to try to outsmart them, and then having to fight zombies who are just like big scary beasts. So I think it blended the two genres of like a horror game and like an action game together, and it was just like the perfect storm of a game. And that's why it's stood the test of time, and how the fan base has grown ever since. And despite how you feel about Last of Us 2 and where it's gone, you can't deny Last of Us and the legacy that it's left behind. It's just one of the greatest games of all time, and anybody who asks me, hey, what's your favorite, I'm always going to say Last of Us. I know at this point it's become kind of a basic answer as well, but I don't care. I'm going to stand behind this damn game. It's just one of the greatest ever. If you've never played it, go and play it, do yourself a favor, and do it with friends. It's a lot more fun to play with friends, just seeing the story unfold, and like if you both don't know where the story's going to go, the twists and turns, it's great.
But yeah, that's how I feel about these particular games. If you want to rip apart my opinions, ask why it is I love these particular games or things about them, even if you just want to chat, please feel free to comment down below. Let me know your thoughts. Maybe you don't agree with me, and maybe you will resonate more with Nate's list. I could definitely see that being a thing. But this is just how I feel. When I play games, I don't always go in looking for just a distraction. I really like to feel like I'm inside of the worlds I'm exploring, that I'm not just contributing by killing some big boss, but helping the little guy out. It resonates with me. And most of these games give me the opportunity to live in that experience that way, so that's why I feel that way. So, let me know if you agree down below. If not, maybe, like I said, you'll agree with Nate, or you can always watch some of our other content, because we're in all kinds of spaces and places here online in the great wide web. But I'll leave you to it for today. Thank you for watching as always.